Hi everyone, welcome back to the Hollywood Actors Guide to Surviving the Film and Television Industry. This is your host, Jennifer Lynn Warren. So today we're going to start off with a question, and this is more geared towards my actors, directors, producers, writers who have left their hometown and the safety and security of their families and are in whatever big city you're in, pursuing your dreams. Even if you've not gone to Los Angeles, but even if you've gone to a smaller market, but if you've gotten out of that town that you knew that you just wouldn't be able to be an artist in, and you've moved forward and you're sitting there doubting and you're wondering if you made the right decision, there's a really simple question I want you to ask yourself. And that is, what would your life be like if you were still living in the town that you were born in or grew up in? Would you be at the parties that you've been to? Would you have been exposed to the art that you've been exposed to, the people, the inspiration? If you're stuck in the town that you're born in and you're wondering if you should move, I'm hoping that these questions serve as an inspiration to you, because travel is one of the most important things that we can do, not only as humans, but as artists. And to have the privilege of being able to live anywhere else in the world other than where you were born, like, we're living in some pretty awesome times. Like, there was a time that, like, to even move the next town over was a huge deal. Now we can pack up our cars, we can move across country. It's going to be difficult. We can even move to other countries because Americans, and I know a lot of my listeners are Americans, I see the stats, we sit in a privilege where a lot of countries are still pretty welcoming of us, whereas there are a lot of actors trying to get into Los Angeles and New York, and they're struggling to get here. So it's pretty cool if you were born here, and you are ahead of the line quite far if you're an American citizen. But ask yourself, what would your life be like if you're still living in living in the city that you were born in? Or what could your life be like if you moved away from the city that you were born in? For me personally, I'm from Altoona, Pennsylvania. So my options would maybe be working at the local Walmart. There's nothing really there to do. We have the Mishler Theater, and I would be able to go do plays there, I'm sure, but the actors there don't make a single dime. There's no crew there. I do have a friend that's close to Indiana, Pennsylvania. He's out there making films with the Skeleton Crew. So I guess I could travel out to him occasionally. But even so, like, being in Los Angeles, I have access to a lot of stuff, and I pay the price for it. I pay the price for it in the cost of my food, the cost of my rent. It's very expensive living in a big city, but the access that it does grant you, in my opinion, is worth everything if you're pursuing this business. Let's talk about a little acting class myth. I mean, sometimes they're right, but more often than not, what I found on set and even on stage is that actors tend to be disconnected. And when we're in class and we're talking about those days that we finally get to work, and we're talking about our, being in with our scene partners and what our coaches want from us, they talk about connecting with the other actor. But here's the truth of it, and it's not very often in class that I have seen this practiced, or I've seen actors being given any sort of coping tools for this issue, is that you can go into a movie, you can book a scene, and you could be opposite Meryl Streep, and then the day shows up that you go to set and you go to shoot, and they do Meryl's coverage, which means they do all of her close-ups. They do your coverage. They do all, like, your two shots with, you and her together. And then they're going to go to your close-up, and Meryl goes to her trailer. Most actors do this, and sometimes they're wrapped for the day. And next thing you know, you're doing your close-up with, who knows, like, it's usually scripty on set, the script supervisor who's reading their lines with you, and they're tired and they're not actors and they don't necessarily have any idea how to give a line reading. I don't think it's that they don't care. It's just they're not there to perform. And the next thing you know, everything that you learned about in acting class, everything you learned about connecting with another actor and being there and looking into their eyes and emoting, you're like, where is it? So the thing to be aware of is that that connection with that other actor is not always going to be there. In fact, more often than not, if you are low on the totem pole and you're just a co-star or a guest star, they're never even going to talk to you. It blows my mind. I would like to think that if I'm ever a series regular, I will introduce myself to every actor I meet and I will be on set for them and I won't walk off like most actors do. I hear that the cast of Shameless always stays. They always are there for other people's coverage. So that I think is amazing. I would love to work on that show. That'd be incredible. But for the most part, guys, you cannot count on being able to connect with another actor the way they train you in scene study class. So this means a couple things. One of the things it means is that all this time that we're spending in audition rooms and we're complaining that we're reading with a bad reader on the other side of the camera is actually great training, because it is the truth of how you're going to be spending most of your time on set. And I wonder if it's an unspoken thing or if it's a subconscious thing that casting directors realize that this co-star that they're booking is not really going to have anyone to work with other than Scripty, and Scripty is just going to kind of be like, meh. So they need an actor that can come in and kill it without being given much so that, on the day they're not going to need Meryl to be there to kill their scene and do a great job. So that's something to think about. It's great to learn how to connect with other actors. That is the ideal situation. You want to be there with another human being that's playing the character that you want them and need them to play and connect with. But more often than not, it's not always there. So our last little thing today, everyone, is talking about your job as an actor. And your job is to create. Your job is not to pass judgment. I was watching the Kaminsky Method the other day, and if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen me post this in the Insta stories. But Michael Douglas plays this actor, and he's a well-known acting teacher, but he hasn't really worked as an actor in a very long time. And he's best friends with his agent, and they're in this fight. And, he's saying, I haven't worked for a long time. And his agent's like, well, that's because you turn down all this stuff that comes your way. And the actor says, well, that's because I have morals and, forgive me for, having, taste in what I do. And of course, I'm paraphrasing. And the agent pretty much says Oscar winners and Emmy winners get to have standards. The rest of us have to bend over. And it's hilarious. It's a hilarious scene, but it's kind of sad. And he's right. I think it's so funny when I have an actor coming to me, he's non-union, they have no credits, and all they want to talk about is how I would never do this kind of show, and I only want to do this kind of work, and yada, yada. And I'm like, well, you know what? If you don't want to work as an actor, that's a great path to go down. Most actors take work because they need work. I laugh when somebody is judging a quote unquote A-lister for doing a commercial, and it's like they're actors. Our job is to do commercials and TV and film. Our job is to create, and it is not to pass judgment. So I'd like to ask you, fellow actors, to be kinder to yourself with the work that you do and what you need to do to keep food on the table. Be kinder to fellow actors for the work they choose to do. If your best friend decides to do a soap opera, don't tell them how that's going to destroy their career, because you have no idea what kind of doors that may open for them, and what kind of doors that they may be able to open for you further down the line that, you know, if they hadn't taken that job, they wouldn't have. You have no idea what your path is. You just need to trust. You need to do the work, create, and not judge. That's all for now, guys. Thank you so much for hanging in there. If you want to follow me on the Insta, it's at Hollywood Actors Guide. Until next week, guys, break a leg and remember, you are not alone.